Okay, let's start. Hi guys, and today I'm going to talk with you about my trip in Europe, and I could say that it was wonderful time when I spent in this 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks, very long time, and the half of this time I spent in France, and another one week I spent in Hungary. But let's start with beginning. And the first thing, of course, all this story begins, I think, in this spring, because I'm trying to book my language school in Australia and go to this place for some language practice and for work and spend some time. Main thing for me was that I want to get a student visa. First, I need to get my language school for 3 or more months. Second thing, I need a lot of money for that. And third thing, I need good visa history. But there was one problem. First problem, there is no visa history at all. I was born and raised at Uzbekistan. And when I was 10 years old, my parents moved to south of Russia, and I was living there for some years. Then we finally moved to Moscow and stayed there for no time. When I grew up, I started traveling around my place. I visited a lot of cities nearby of Moscow and a lot of times visited St. Petersburg. I love this city a lot. Was at Vyborg, again, have traveled at south of country, some cities like Krasnodar, Crimea, Adyghe. So, all foraging countries which I visited were Abkhazia, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan, where I was born. As you may see, I ignored Europe for very long time, and finally it turns into a not really good result with my visa history. Definitely, and this is the huge problem because without good visa history, there is some risk for them that I'm not really great citizen, I'm not really great tourist, and especially I'm not great student. So there is one huge problem and one huge solving of this problem. And of course, I decided to go to Europe. And I remind you that right now, 2023 year, and it is not really pleasure time for any traveling, especially from Russia to Europe and from Europe to Russia. But I love obstacles and I love overcome these obstacles. So I'm just start my process to get visa to Europe, especially to France. My first mistake, of course, was to buy tickets before to have some appointment in visa center in my place. Visa center for France was so busy that I just scrolled all his website, I think, for a few days, and there is no place. But when it finally appeared, of course, there was so much bugs and the service just fall down because a lot of people started to register their application for visa, and of course I didn't have place again. I was very under stressed, of course, and I scrolled all this website again and again, and my friends just said me, oh, maybe you will try to get visa to Hungary. And I was like, interesting thought. I tried to search some places in Hungary visa center, and of course there was a huge number of places for your applications. And of course I started all this process in Hungarian visa center, and it was a little bit stressful again because of course Tina forgot about all ankeets that I need to print all of them before the last day, the last evening before my appointment in the Hungarian visa center. In the last evening I was just very, very under stress, tried to print everything, and there was another one problem. I bought not the right insurance for my whole trip because I bought insurance for only France and from 13 June to 13 June. I was going to France from 13 July to 25 July, so it was completely different dates, and of course, genius, I needed to buy another one insurance, and the next day I went to Hungarian visa center, and of course I needed to refill my enquetes again because I had some mistakes in this enquete, of course. After that, there was some problem with my biometrical data. So it was a little bit stressful, but generally it was okay. And it was great thing when I just opened this paper and opened my passport, and there was visa, and I was like, oh my goodness, yes, it is, oh yes, finally. And at this moment I started to prepare for my trip. So, here we go. My road started at Moscow, then I needed to fly to Sochi, after that Yerevan, after that Athens, and after that I reached my main goal, it's France. And after that, I needed to go from Marseille to Paris for a few days. And after that, I needed to go to Budapest, and I needed to go from Budapest to Istanbul. And after Istanbul, I needed to go finally at Moscow. This was my tickets. Yes. Very, very busy road, very busy schedule. I didn't think that I need to some sleep or rest or something, and maybe I just forgot about it at that moment, and that's why I had a few night and very early flights and a few very uncomfortable transfers, which became a reason why I slept at airports or didn't sleep at all. And the first place of my destination was Adler. at the south of Russia, and there is Black Sea, and generally it's okay place, very warm and nice. Definitely, and this day there was so terrible and rainy and windy weather. Oh my god, serious? Less than half day there was normal weather. I think a few hours, it was at 11 or 12 a.m. But after that there started so strong wind and rain. I just was wet completely. I was at very light clothes, so I was so cold, and I'm just started put some things from my baggage definitely in the center of some street, and I'm just started to unzip my luggage and try to put some clothes much warmer, like another one shoes, because I was in very summer very light shoes, and I just put my sneakers, and it will help me of course, but not at all, because it was very light sneakers, so and there was a lot of water around me, there was very rainy, windy, so yes. Already at the evening of the day, I went from Sochi, from Russia, to another one, beautiful and just gorgeous country, which is called Armenia. I went to Yerevan. It's very beautiful city with great history, with great architecture, and with great people. I went to this place at 4 a.m. Yes, perfect. And I just slept at airport for a few hours, and I went to Yerevan at 4 a.m. not because of my bookings, not because flight was delayed because of great weather and Sochi, of course. So of course my booking at Yerevan was just refused. So I just booked another one new place for the next day. So I needed to wait for a few hours somewhere, and I was so tired after this very long old time when I spent while I was waiting of my flight, which was delayed, of course. I just slept down at airport for a few hours, and I awake because a lot of flights just sat at my whole body, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And I was just shake all my body, and all this fly like a cloud started to fly around all me, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? But it is Yerevan. There is a lot of bugs, a lot of intersects, so it is just alive. I just went to this place, and it was so interesting because I ride to this place by taxi, and I saw these beautiful mountains, which is called Ararat. Of course, it is one of the most famous place. While I was riding, I have a little talk with my driver. He was very lovely, and he asked me where I'm from, what I'm going to do at Yerevan, and how long I'm going to stay at this place. And when we almost arrived to my hotel, he showed me the place where was a huge nest of stork. And he showed me a huge huge nest of storks. There was two nests. You could imagine it. It was huge like that. There was 5 storks. So exciting and gripping, because before that I have never seen a stork so closely. Many storks at one time. So I was very excited, and I was, oh my goodness, are you serious? It's so beautiful. They are so nice. While I'm trying to find some food, I found cemetery of Yerevan, and interesting thing that I love places like that. I'm not thinking about cemeteries like, oh my goodness, there is ghosts, there is people buried and something like that, and it's not a very lively place. No, I'm thinking about this place in a way that always very interesting to watch at funerary monuments, because it's always reflect the whole culture of treatment people to the people who already died. In Russia we have completely different place for this, and usually it's very busy. There is a lot of funerary monuments, and it's all with fins. There is a lot of plants, and sometimes it's a little bit dirty. This was completely different treatment. There were huge square for buried place that it's for the whole family. It was like a square, and there was different funerary moments. And after that, of course, there was not so much time before my flight, but finally I decided that I need to visit the center of the city. I don't know when I will go to Armenia the next time, so I need to do it right now. Just decided to have a little walk, a little bit, but it was much more, because I met a guy, appeared like guy who had parents who are architects, and of course he knew almost every interesting thing about architecture of Yerevan, and he became my personal guide for this evening. My journey started at Republic Square. There was so nice evening atmosphere. There were a lot of people, some street musician, chill vibe. After that, I turned forward Armenian National Opera and Ballet Theatre. In my way were some nice and lovely houses with local architecture features. After a while, I went to Freedom Square. There I heard one joke that at that square in one day could play and have some fun children, and at another day there could be some riots. By the way, there are beautiful opera house. After that, I went to a park with modern and art statues, and there was statue of Alexander Tamayan, who invented and designed general plan of center of Yerevan. And the final point of little evening trip was at Cascade Complex with this endless stair, but there was awesome and unforgettable view of night city. So, my next flight was from Yerevan to Athens. and it was the most exciting part because I knew that I will have only 10 hours from my arriving to the next departure. As an architect, I was so excited because Greece, especially Athens, it is the place of the huge history of architecture, and of course I saw all these great show places at my student books when I was studying at university, and even earlier when I studying at school we had historical student books, and there was a lot of pictures, schemes, diagrams of Acropolis, Temple of Zeus, and a lot of different ruins, parks, and etc. But a very bad thing that I didn't visit it. Yes, but not because I'm lazy ass and something like that. No, just because when I went to a place where you could buy some tickets for Acropolis and of course for Adon of Herdos Atticus, the bad thing was that it was very crowded, and there was huge queues to the machines where you could get some tickets, and there was huge queues to the entrance to this Acropolis. Visited a lot of great places when it was crowded and when it wasn't crowded, and always it is completely opposite feelings and emotions, and of course when it's crowded you have not really great feeling about it. So that's why I'm just stroll around all this place and watch at this Acropolis from down to up, watch at some parts of this beautiful place. Of course, I'm not really concerned about it because I visited old area of town where was ancient homes. I saw Agora, I saw first house in Athens. It was like a museum, just adore it. And of course, I visited some parks. There was a street musician who played folk music, and it was so deep atmosphere there. So I just watched this and have some beautiful moments for my memories. But of course, there was again some interesting adventure for me, and it was very hot weather.
Voice name equals commatal eloquence ENGB rocker. Abnormal weather. Voice. Speak.
Thank you. Abnormal weather. So at that day when I arrived to Athens, there was abnormal weather and it was very hot. Cars where people just gave a lot of water, cold water, to every stranger, to every person at the street, because it was so hot that I think a lot of people at that day was just burned out or had some warm heat, something like that. And there is right now one person who burned out at this day and have a warm punch. Yes, I was completely burned out because I forgot to put on my sunscreen. Not because I didn't have it, no, because I put it on my luggage and my luggage was at airport, of course, oh my goodness. And I was at jeans and jackets and t-shirt. And in one moment when I just started to feel that I'm not really okay with this hot weather, I just decided to solve it to just rolled up of my jeans and my t-shirt like that and like that. Oh, I need to do these things. And it didn't help me. But after that, I just noticed some people around me with opened umbrella, and I was like, oh, I have umbrella right here in my bag with me. Oh, great. I just stroll and explore all Athens with very lovely umbrella, and it was something. But despite this fact, I was overheat and overwarmed at this day. When I returned to airport, I started to feel like I'm very cold, despite the fact that it was very, very warm outside. And I didn't realize this time that I have a warm punch. No, it's okay. I'm just put on another one jacket. It's okay. And only when I started to go to my flight, I started to think that maybe I am overwarmed and I need to cool down, not put on another one jacket, because my temperature just go up and it was awful. And all my flight I just sit under the air conditioner and trying to cool down, and it's completely finally solved my problem. I finally went to France, to Marseille. I went to Marseille not only by myself. I went to Marseille by myself, but there was my friend, which I met at Reddit, and he helped me to explore all this beautiful city in Marseille, of course, and we visit a lot of different places, show places. But at the first evening, after all this trip from Moscow to Sochi, and after that to Yerevan, and after that to Athens, and after that finally to Marseille, I went to the beach with rocks and met one of the loveliest sunset in my life. It was really great, and there was a lot of local people who just have their great evening and have some conversation with friend, meetings with friend, and it was great. There was only one entrance and one exit, but we didn't know that, and we tried to find another one exit from this place, but of course we didn't. I felt completely all local life, their schedule, their daily habits, their meals, their foods which they prefer to eat and how they prefer to eat it. Do they have lunch or breakfast or dinners, or they don't? What they do usually, how they spend their time with their friends or their families and something like that. And it was so interesting, and all these things happens for me because at the next day we went to Marseille Calanchi. It is nature reserve, and it's very beautiful places with the Mediterranean Sea. Calanches was a great place with great nature, and oh my god, this sea, it was so beautiful. Interesting thing that there not so much people because you need to reserve place to visit it. And when you went to this place, of course, there's always post and people who checked, do you have tickets or not? And this is great thing because it is a really control of flow of people, and it is comfortable quantity of people who went to this place, and you do not feel that it's very overcrowded. The nature not so much suffer from people, and there's very clear and natural sea without any garbage or something like that. And it was only the half of the first really true day in Marseille, and it was 14th July, and 14th July in France it is Bastille Day. In French it's formally called like Fête Nationale Française. Of course, my French bad, and of course there was parade. Parade at France was so different with parades at my place. It has more freedom. There weren't so much postmen as usual at my home. People could watch it very closely. Interesting that there was fence along all way of parade, and in one moment we needed cross the line of parade, and we just crossed it while there was pause between the procession. At my home it's not possible at all. There was orchestra music and some performance nearby of Parliament. But it's not the end. There started to some orchestra music, and at that time, while there was some orchestra music, parachutists started to jump and trying to land it right in the center of the square. And while all people around me just stare at all these beautiful events, one interesting guy just checked our bags for some cash, I think. And the mom of my friends noticed that and went to the local policemen who just stayed around there and told them about this person. Yes, this is video from parade, and you could see that all people around just stay and watch at beautiful performance. And right here, right now, you could see our little dirty robber. Yes, right here, his head. Guilty. It was very unexpectedly because in Russia we tend to don't really mind about our bags. Generally, you could left your bag at the place and go to somewhere and return from the few hours and you find it at the same place. But after this interesting situation, I really noticed that almost every person, all people in France always carry their bags like that. And they never try to find something in their bag in public places. For example, if they going to the metro or any public space, they always try to take something from their bag before they go to this place. And after that, I start to carry my bag like that because it was very scary. Helped me realize that you need to watch your back always, and it will help me maybe in Paris and Hungary after all of this. And after that, we went to the local police station, of course, because we needed to give testimony. And it was so interesting, and it was great experience for me because at my home we have completely different police station. Next day I just went to some show places, visit great chapels, temples, cathedrals, chapels in French, oh my goodness. And after all some walking around Marseille, I went to the local birthday party of Marseillians people. This was another one great experience, very, very eventful experience. It just was normal birthday for Marseillians, and there was a pool, there was a board game, there was, of course, alcohol and pétanque. I discovered this game for myself, I think a year ago. I had some sets on this game a few times. It was interesting and I was like, oh my god, it was so easy. But when you are playing with Marseillians in the place where this game was invented, it's completely different experience. They all were so good at this game. They just, oh my goodness, you need to throw it out like that, try to reach this place, and just for one blush, they all realized that it should be like that. And I was like, I'm trying to do something like that, maybe it will work or maybe not. They made me great, they local, not great, interesting local alcohol drink, aniseed vodka with juice. And it tastes like licorice, and that's all. And I met great local child of one of the friend of birthday man. They taught me some French words and phrases, and I still remember some of them. I know word d'accord, it is okay, de rien, it is you're welcome. Another one is, of course, it was very hard to remember it, but finally I reached my goal, so pieuvre verte, but I think it is very, very hard accent that, but I'm trying. It means green octopus. And another one, I learned some colors, rose, pink, rouge, red, noir, of course it's black, and blanc, it's white. Oh, another one word is piscine. It is just pool. By the way, it was so interesting to see how some French word very hard and strong to remind me some Russian words. For example, in French there is words like directeur and directrice. It is director, female and male. In Russia we have the same, director and directrice, and the same with actor, actrice, actor, actrice. There was another one, but I not really remember it, of course. There was some time when we just have some conversation with my friend, and he tried to explain me some word in French, and he just didn't remember some word in English, the meaning of this in English. He used some words from French, and I understood him because we have the same words in Russian. Cultural exchange. And the next day we went to another one, beautiful and famous places. At the last evening at Marseille, and my friend was like, By the way, from which airport from Paris you're going to Budapest? And I was like, oh, it is Paris Bouvier. And he was like, what? Are you serious? And I was like, what is wrong? There was the thing that Paris Bouvier, it's not located in Paris. It is located in Bouvier. It is the city which is nearby of Paris, of course, but it's not a Paris. And you need some time to reach this city. And finally, I went to Paris. And I went to Paris by train. So I have some time to stare at very beautiful countryside views. And I went to Paris at the evening, and there was so beautiful, gorgeous sunset. And already at the next day, I went to some famous show places. I found Vespa, some interesting restaurants, and I went to Louvre, a walk around. Then I went to park nearby of Eiffel Tower, and of course I visited cemetery Père Lachaise, visited graves of Chopin, Isadora Duncan, Oscar Wilde, and it was so beautiful time. And already at that night I went to my flight to Paris Bouvet, and my flight was at 9 a.m. I was living at the center of Paris, so I needed to wake up at 3 a.m. I think. When I went to the airport, it appears that I needed to check in online before 3 hours of my flight, and I can't check in airport because it is low cost company. I didn't know that. It is called Ryanair. Really happy that I bought tickets from this company because I needed to pay additional 55 euros because I didn't checked online before. Completely strange company, really. I didn't like it at all, and I'm not really advise you to use this company. And finally, I went to Budapest. Oh goodness, yes. And it was great place, because when I was at France, it was like a fairy tale, it was like a movie, like a series, something magical. When I went to Budapest, I felt like I turned to home, which I left a lot of time ago. Have a lot of walk around all these beautiful show places, of course. I visit some cafes. I visit great cafe, which is called Frici Papa. Oh my goodness. Ordered some food, and it was Hungarian folk foods, and there was very nice prices, by the way. And I just spent a great time in Budapest and visit, of course, Parliament and some things. And of course, I visit Red Bar, which is located in the ruins. These ruins appeared after World War II. It has so great atmosphere. I just drink one cocktail, sit at one room, sit in other rooms, and spend great time. Was great music, by the way. Budapest for me was like a place of the energy. I have some time to think about my deals, about my life, about what I want to do. That I realized that I don't want to return to my office and work as an architect in the way how it's going on in my office. I want to do it completely in different way, and I hope that it will help me to change something. But it's true, because you're just staff, you just people who do things which they tell you to do, of course. And maybe I will change it in my life and do it in a little bit different ways. I really hope that. I hope that it influenced me in the right way, and I changed something in my life. So it was the whole trip and the whole story of my trip in Europe. Thank you for watching this video, and see you next time. Bye bye.